Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message, it reads like this. Hello, my brother, how are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My brother, my story, it goes on like this. I am a man who is aged 49, and in our family, we are 6 kids, and I am the firstborn. Me being here on your platform, it takes a lot of guts, because what is happening in our family, it is quite terrifying. Even when I spoke with my wife, when I told my wife that this is what I was about to do, when I told her that I just went to go on social media to look for help, she was like, what if you are going to die just like what happened to your uncle? My uncle passed away. This was after he had gone to church. Just by going to church, when he returned back from church, he was bleeding from the ears, and by the time that he died, there was blood that was actually coming out of his eyes. So I am even terrified to speak about all the things that happen in our family. But I am glad that out there are people that are willing to expose all of these things that have been happening to us as black people. Some people, they say that when you expose all of this stuff, it means that you are hating on your culture. But I think that this is a good thing for people to be exposing such bad stuff. My brother, my mom, when she came to our family after she had gotten married to our father, it was said that my mom, she then joined my grandmother, who was a well-known witch. After she had joined my grandmother, then they started becoming witch. They were the best of best friends. Amongst all of her daughter-in-laws, my mother, she was the one that she loved the most, and all of her other daughter-in-laws, she hated them a lot. And that uncle of mine who died simply because he had grown tired of everything that was going in the family, and when he went to church, and that uncle of ours, his own wife, she passed away. This woman, she had a terrible death. She actually fell into a well. She used to go to a white garment church, and when she came into the family, it was said that she was shown in a dream that my mother and my grandmother, they were trying to make her to become a witch. Then she returned back to her people, and she was given some herbs, and these herbs, they made my grandmother to be sick. At that time, my uncle's wife, she had recently given birth. So my grandmother, when she entered into her bedroom, she tried to suckle on her breast as if she was a child. So then the milk that came out, that was mixed with the herbs, it was sort of like poisonous for a witch, but not for the child. So my grandmother, it was said that she got so sick that she almost died, but she didn't die because my mother was the one who helped her to sacrifice one amongst her children. And after one of her children had passed away, that was when my grandmother was said to have survived. And after she survived, she made sure that she was going to make all of her enemies to suffer. Our uncle, when he was trying to fight for his own children, we who are all now dead, when he went to church trying to give his life to Christ, well, he died after he had given his life to Christ. On that same Sunday, when he returned back from church, that was when he was found to be bleeding from his ears, eyes, as well as the mouth, and he passed away. Throughout his funeral, no one could even look at him because he was actually forming white stuff at his mouth. That is some of the stuff that has happened in our family. When our grandmother passed away, well, we then said that this was the end of all the evil acts that had been happening in the family. But little did we know that our mother, she had already recruited some amongst one of our uncle's kids. Some of my uncle's kids, they are now in South Africa. they are very dangerous, those ones. The moment that they call you, my brother, yes, I know that the economy is very bad. I have a small hardware, and now currently I am selling a lot of solar panels. But the moment one of my cousin sisters call me, the one that is in South Africa, I will know that immediately something bad is going to happen to me. This thing, it has been happening over and over again. So my mom, she is working with her team, and this team, they are the kids of one of my uncles who has since passed away. It was even said that my mom and my cousin sisters, they actually helped each other to eat up his deceased body. And as for my mother, you will never think that she will agree to all of these accusations. But one time when there was a family meeting, this was after one of my father's brother, he was the last one to remain in the family after he had passed away. After the funeral, that was when there was a family meeting. So the way that people were talking, because some of the relatives, they had said that we were not supposed to share our uncle's clothes like we do as per our custom. We had to wait and go and visit a traditional healer so as to know what was happening in the family. My mother, she was seated. She then rose up and she said that, I know that you accuse me, and I know that in your hearts you think that I am a witch. Well, you have to know that I am your witch, and I am the one who has actually made everyone to die in this family. So when she said this, people just said, so when my mother said this, no one ever opposed her because we are all afraid of her. But right now, I am actually tired. I do not even fear my mom anymore. I want to expose her because of the things that she has done in the family. Back in the village where we grew up, there is no one who even wants to associate with my mother. Since there is no one who wants to associate with my mother, this has made us to become like people who are not liked by the whole villagers. If we go back to the village, no one will even want to be friends with you. No one wants to associate with the child of a witch. I remember that there was this other day when I was still a young man. So we used to go with our cattle at this other ball. There was a place that they had built so that the cows, when it was during the dry season, we can go and make our cows to drink. So whilst we were there, my brother, we then ended up fighting, me and this other boy. We fought so hard, and after we had fought so hard, me and that boy, then I returned back home. I was bruised. That boy had beaten me up so much. But the next thing that happened was that the mother of that boy, the one that I had fought with, the mother then passed away. The mother was found lying on top of a grave. How can such a thing happen, that someone can actually walk out of their own house and go to the grave site and then sleep on top of a grave, and after sleeping on top of a grave, they just die? And this is what happened. When this thing happened, my brother, everyone then remembered that the previous day it was me and that boy who had fought. Now what had happened was that the mother had passed away. So from there onwards, there was no one who ever wanted to associate with me. And in school, if it was that I didn't have that passion to further my education, I could have dropped out of school, because even the teachers, like when we would submit our books, if it was your homework or your exams, the teachers will even mark the wrong answers because they were afraid of my mother. A lot of times that my mother will come to the school for no particular reason at all, then the teacher will get so scared. So by the time that I left school, my brother, I didn't have any friends. Even right now, I feel as if I am a social outcast because I do not even have any friend to speak of, including my own sisters. Well, as for my own sisters, it is like a story that can even fill up a book, because amongst all of my sisters, none of them have ever found true love. From day one, all of my sisters, they have been impregnated. And my mother, she actually placed a curse upon my sisters. There was a time when one of my sisters was dating this other man. This man, it seemed as if he wanted to marry my sister. So my sister came and told my mom about this issue. That was when my sister developed this other thing. In our language we call it sari. This is like a spiritual thing that is placed in your womb. After this thing has been placed in your womb, it will become sort of like a growth. This growth, you can actually see it just at the spot where you poo, or it can be just underneath your private part. That is what we call sari. It is a spiritual thing that is inserted into your womb by a witch when they do not want you to get married or to be in a relationship that is long lasting. And that is what happened to my sister. My sister, when she found out that there was something like a growth that was coming out of that place where you poo, she called me as her older brother. She then said that there is something that is going on with me, something that I do not even understand. I know that you are my brother. You are not supposed to know all of these things, but just in case if I am going to die, let me just tell you what is going on with me. At that time, when my sister had this sari that was coming out of her private part, she thought that maybe she was having cervical cancer. So we spoke, and the way that she was explaining this thing, since I was now attending a white garment church, I had heard about it, so I knew exactly what my sister was trying to say. Then my sister said, I know, let me try to show your wife. I then went outside, and then she showed it to my wife. My wife told me that this growth that was appearing on that place where you poo, it was actually moving as if it was breathing. My wife, when she tried to describe this thing, she said that this thing, it was as big as her thumb, and it was moving as if it was breathing. Well, I then spoke with some prophetesses from our church. So those women then said that my sister, what she was supposed to do was that she had to buy a white garment, and after that, then the prophet came, and then the prophetess started cutting off that thing that had developed at the place where you poo. My brother, after she had cut that thing, the thing kept on moving, even by the time that they came out of the house, and when they showed me that this is the thing that we have cut from your sister's private area. And when I looked at it, I saw that it was actually breathing. It was breathing, my brother. We thought that this was the end of it. So the first time we had made a mistake, we didn't know that such a thing, you are not supposed to pay the person that would have cut off that thing from your private parts. So we ended up paying this prophetess, and it came back. And when this thing came back, it was not a single growth that was now coming out. When this thing were now coming out, there were actually two of them. And ever since that day, my sister has been suffering. She has gone to different churches, and there have been a lot of prophetesses that have actually cut this thing, but it keeps on growing, and it keeps on growing. The last time when I told her that it is better that she stops, because this thing, what it does is that if you cut one, the next time when it comes out, it will come out as two. So my sister said that the thing is actually covering the entire area. It is very difficult for her when she is trying to poo. That is how much my sister has suffered. She says that it is very painful. Most of the times what she does is that she takes aloe vera, then she rubs it back there so that the pain can cool down. She has tried to go to several doctors. They do not even know what to do with her anymore, and they don't know where these things are coming from, because it is not coming from her womb. They thought that maybe it was coming from her womb, but after running several tests, they said that they do not know what is happening to her. They used to say that she has piles, but at the end of the day, the doctors were always changing. Some will say that it is piles, some some will say that it is just an infection, but my sister, she is suffering. That is why I said, if I start to tell you about the way that my sisters are suffering, you can actually write a book about my sisters. They have suffered a lot. None of them have ever got married. All that they do is that they just get impregnated by several men. This other sister of mine, who is the last born in the family, when I spoke with her about this issue of her giving birth each and every time, I said, can't you use some form of family planning? And she said that I am on family planning right now, but I do not know what happens to me. She says that the moment that she dates someone, when they try to do it without using any protection, then boom, pregnancy will visit her. And there is another thing that has been happening on my father's grave. We have tried, it is 5 times now that we have tried, my brother, we have tried to rebuild my father's grave. The first year after we had done this other traditional ceremony whereby we were inviting his spirit back into the family. After doing that ceremony, my brother, I think just before a week had passed, then we saw that my father's grave, we had placed a tombstone on top of his grave. The tombstone had been split into half, and the way that it had been split in half, the way that it had split in half, it was like there was someone who had actually came and grinded the tombstone, because you could see a perfect line. That is how the tombstone was split in half. We kept on doing it until we said, this thing that we are doing, it is very expensive. Let us just take some bricks and then we make some concrete so that we can just put something on his grave so that it cannot be forgotten. Even those bricks that we had placed and the concrete, they were all cracked up. This thing, it keeps on happening over and over again. My mother, she is said that she has some connection with the village headman, because with all the things that has been happening, the village headman does not say anything about it. There was this other woman who was accused of witchcraft previously, because at her house fire was just appearing, mysterious fire. So people from the village, they were saying that this was the spirit of this other person that she had actually used in her rituals, and that person had passed away. So that spirit was now fighting with her. Then the village headman did not even waste any time. The village headman kicked her out of the village. But as for my mother has been accused of witchcraft. People have died in the family, yet the village headman pretends as if there is nothing that is taking place. The place where the village headman has his house, we are almost staying in the same street with him, but this village headman, he pretends as if everything is fine. Whenever we try to hold a family meeting, the village headman, he is always whenever we try to hold a family meeting, the village headman is always there. The village headman will say that since my mother does not have any relatives that are staying in the village, you will be the one to witness, so that we won't accuse her of something that she doesn't know. My brother, these are the spiritual challenges that we are facing as a family. Most of my relatives, they are afraid even to go to church. They are afraid. I have an uncle of mine whom I spoke with. She is a relative of my mom. When I told her that I am now going to church, she then said that make sure that when you are praying, you do not create a fire for us, a fire that we won't be able to put out. So I know what he means, but I am here on your platform. I am looking for any kind of advice or help that I can get, even if it means that I am going to lay my life down so that my family and the future generations can actually enjoy life. So be it. Please post my story and notify me immediately after you have posted it. Yo, dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us that we had to give you this translation. Yo, Africa.